We are women. Hello. I'm Aubrey Fuller. If I don't already know you and you don't know me, I'm Aubrey Fuller. I'll tell you a very small amount about myself in a minute. This is Caroline Griggs. She's one of my closest friends. She's amazing. This is her first time doing something like this, and this is my like 8,000th time doing something like this. So you better be nice to her. So I wanted to introduce this podcast style conversation event because she and I, this was inspired by Caroline. Okay, this is, you guys don't know her yet. Maybe some of you do, but some of you probably don't. But she's amazing. Like, she's genuinely one of the most amazing women I've ever met in my life.
Wow.
I'm going to glaze you like ChatGPT 4.0. Wow. What a brilliant question. So Caroline's one of the most amazing women I've ever met in my life. She and I happen to be housemates at the moment, which I love. And she lives right, like, she's the closest room to me in the house, and we share a bathroom. And so, so I borrowed something from her room the other night, and then I was returning it to her. And I knocked and then just kind of went in, because you've told me that I'm allowed to do that, because I'm actually not someone who typically would do that. And I don't love it when people do that. And so I wouldn't, but you actually did tell me at one point you like it. So I just walked into her room and she's naked.
I was wondering if you're going to include that
luckily
detail.
she was alone. And then I also didn't have a whole lot of clothes on because I was just returning something quickly. And so we ended up, I should have called this podcast Naked Conversations with Women. That would have gotten a lot of people, but then they'd be disappointed that we're not naked. But anyways, so I went in there and she pulled the little blanket up on her, and I gave her back it was a candle, and I gave her back the candle. And then we ended up talking. She was in a rage about something, but like, you guys don't understand, when Caroline's in a rage about something, it's not that it's not daunting. Okay, I don't want to diminish her like dragon rage self or anything, but it's like enjoyable also for some reason. And so I went in with her and was like, well, what's going on? Why are you, what's happening? Why are you so angry? What's going on? And was like there's this term that we use in our community called spelunking, like cave diving, spelunking, like a spelunker, where you attach to a cord and you have your equipment and stuff, and you go down into a cave to explore. And if you like tug the rope, your person like pulls you up out of the cave. You see some treacherous thing down there that's terrifying, and you're done with your cave exploration. You're like, get me out. And so I was like, I'm going down in her cave, right? And so and so I went down in there in my light, and I'm like, how's it going in here? And we just ended up having this really rich conversation. And I was deeply touched by the kind of places that I feel like Eros path women go in their conversations. Like, we're just out here having these like really rich conversations about our relationships, our emotions, how we work with our minds, like the math of, cause and effect in our lives, like how we're ultimately responsible for this thing. And then how this relationship has this karma. And so then how do I respond to it intelligently, but also according to the karma? I mean, we just go there, right? Like, we go into the most intricate of places. And I'm blessed in this way. We're blessed in this way. We are like immersed in these kinds of conversations and relating among erotic women all the time. And it's, for some reason in that moment, I was like, everyone needs to hear this. Everyone needs to hear it. It wasn't like the content, it's not necessarily the content, because the content is almost like the art medium that we use to have these conversations and to connect the way that we do. The content almost doesn't even matter. Like, it's like, oh, what are you freaking out about today? Oh, what are you turned on about today? Like, what's your desire today? What's your complaint today? These are like the paints and the pencils and the canvas and the, like the sculpture. And so I just was inspired by the really deep, intimate places that we dropped into together, that have this transmission to them. Like, they have there's this particular feeling that we get to drop into together, of intimacy that I really want the world to have access to that. I mean, not just watching us do it, but having it like, you know, everybody having it for themselves as well. Like, I really want this way of relating to make it out into the world, because it's so fulfilling and so like just, it's like eating like really good food and feeling nourished all the way through, and having like having enough, you know, like having enough love in your life and enough intimacy in your life, and feeling like your friends actually see you really deeply, and like feeling respected and appreciated for the gifts that you bring. And then also feeling, and this is kind of the first thing I want to talk about, because this is I think a really difficult balance to strike in sisterhood relating, in like eros based, you know, friendship relating. This is a difficult balance, is how do you like hold each other to the highest standard, right? Like, because here's the thing, the math of it is that I've seen her deepest brilliance, and I cannot unsee it. And so then what do you do after that? You know, when she's not hitting that. Do you pretend like it's like you can't unsee it? So to me, the math is like, if you want to be a true friend and you want to be like a true friend for someone's liberation, you remind them of that spot, you know, and it becomes a whole art how you do that. And there are skillful ways to do it and less skillful ways to do it. And there's ways that you're going to do it where you avoid it. And then there's ways you do it where you name it. And so it's like holding each other to the highest expression of our erotic womanhood, but then also providing such a loving space for that emergence of like the woman that we are, you know, each of us inside, to come out into a really loving, receptive space at the same time. You know, I'm not going to just challenge her to be her best self and then just be like, oh, does it look like there's just like scary knives everywhere waiting for you? Yeah, come out anyway, you know?
I might walk into that.
You might. This is why she's so awesome, dude. She's hardcore. She likes to play hard. She will take some risks in life. Ones I don't take. And so that's where I want to start. That's kind of what I thought the conversation could revolve around today, is that balance between like holding each other to the highest. It's like the highest isn't the right word, because this is not an ascendant path. This is a descendant path, by the way, the Eros path. But to like our greatest expression of who we are, you know, and like what our actualized self is in this lifetime, while also providing a really loving space for women to emerge.
Yeah. I mean, I really, you know, it's funny that we're like talking about it, because I feel like the past, I don't know, like year of my life, I really have been practicing that as an art, versus like, I think when I first started with erotic women friendships, it was kind of just like, I would like hit a landmine and it would explode. And I would be like, oh, wow, okay, well, I got what I wanted, but it's like kind of messy. And so I think the cool part is like the way you're describing it as like an art, and like truly like you have to like really remove a lot of self to do that, because like I'm the kind of person that's like, I want it now and right away, and like what's the fastest way. And so I can become very like entitled to someone's brilliance. And so for me, it's like really been learning like how do other people like it, which is really outside my preference. I really like to do things
when you
my
get
way.
entitled to someone's brilliance, do you mean, because I want to make sure I understand this, like, do you mean that you get mad when they're not being their best self?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm like,
you're like, excuse me, you're not giving me your best effort.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah. I'm like, we open that, it should stay open forever.
Forever.
I'm like, I'm not sure what's happening, but fix it, because I really like this other thing.
Okay. Yep. I've felt that.
Wow, I lost what I was saying, but yeah, I mean, I've just really learned like that there's so inside of it, why I love it now is like I actually get to learn more about myself. So like one of my closest friends, she like really does not like rage and anger. And that's probably like my primary go-to. Like when I like, like most people see anger and rage and they're like, oh, let me give you whatever you want, and, but no, she is like not like that. And so I've really had to learn like, oh, wow, this is weird. So I want her to be more open, but the first thing I'm going to do is say something vulnerable. And like that was, maybe for like most women, that's not so out of the norm. But like for me, I was like, this is a weird experience. Like I'm going to go lay my heart out in hopes that they like do the same. That's like one of mine that I've learned recently. And I'm like, that one's like the most intense where you're like, really, you're like mad at the person. You're like in this huge fight and you're like, okay, I'm going to be the first one to kind of like really splay myself. And so that one's been wild. And then just like one of the other fun ones is like using a lot of humor and play. Those are like hella scary though, because you're like, can I like bring enough joy so it's like light, but like enough, force or like pressure that they like hear you and they don't just like kind of go into the play with you. And like those have been really fun to learn. And when you get it right, you're like, wow, that was fun. And so, yeah, I think it's like, I don't know, they're great. And then I was thinking about our conversation, like when we were in that moment, and it's like, you don't really want anyone to see you in that moment because you're like, oh, wow. I guess this makes sense why I try and fish everyone out. Cause like when I'm not in my brilliance, I'm like, I'll just like hide and like hope no one notices until I can like fix it myself and come back out. And it's like when you let someone in that moment, you're kind of like, okay, here we go. Like you're just so scared. Like they're like, do what I do to them. Or they're like,
that's why it was kind of perfect that you were naked when I first walked in.
That's like my whole life. Like the outside always and the inside, like it's just perfect response. I'm just like, yeah,
here it is.
Yeah. We're like sitting in meditation this morning and I'm like having a feeling and my phone just like drops on the ground. I'm like, well, welcome to my feelings. So loud.
You're not a good poker player.
Nope, I'm not.
You have all the tells.
Yeah, I have all the tells, but I have been known to use my tells to bamboozle people and really make some strides.
So you're good at poker. You're good. You can bluff.
Yeah. Well, I can't bluff. I can play the game of, like if someone catches one, then, I'm a tenacious poker player where I just like won't give up, and they're like, surely she is going to realize she's bad at this. And I'm just like, I'm going to keep going.
I'm staying on this table no matter what. You're not getting rid of me.
Which is kind of how I am. And women play too. Where they're like, surely she's going to leave now. And I'm like, actually, no,
Yeah. Yeah, I've experienced that. I have experienced that. Yeah, that's a good description. You reminded me of something else, a really cool other conversation that me and you had recently where we laughed a lot about, we talked about what it would be like if we were in a relationship together and one of us was a man.
Yeah. I'm the man.
You were the man. We talked about I forget, maybe even there wasn't one of us were a man. Maybe we just talked about how if we dated, it would be the perfect, what's that phrase Nicole always uses with the holes in my head match the horns in your head perfectly.
Yeah.
I was like, I tried to remember, but do you remember?
Yeah, because you create like a missing spot and I give the person the thing that they think they can never give anywhere. Like, I'm like, oh, they really are hungry for this. And they just like feed that spot. And then they never see me. They're just like, wow.
Right.
And I'm like, that's,
You're okay. So one thing that, we talk about as erotic women a lot is what it means to be like present as a woman in relating and like in intimacy, in sex, in friendship, in dating, all of the different kinds of interactions of life. Like, what does it mean to really be present with who you are versus absent? And absenteeism as for women is a real scourge of the earth right now. It's a pandemic.
For sure.
It's an epidemic. I don't remember which one, but it's absenteeism is rough. And, you know, for just a grounded example of how women are really so used to being absent in their relationships and their lives, just think about the last time you had sex. If you're a woman, just think about the last time you had sex. Just most recent 2 times that you had sex, whenever they were. Doesn't even matter. Doesn't matter with who. Doesn't matter how long ago or how recent. Just think of those. And just think of all the things you didn't say. Just think of every single moment where you had a little bit of a desire or a lot of a desire, or you didn't like exactly love exactly how things were going, and you really wish that you could speak up and say something different, or you wish that you even knew what you wanted to be able to say something different. And all just all the moments that you spent in that experience, just kind of generally feeling like you're not totally communicating everything that you're experiencing and would like to potentially adjust. Okay. That's being absent as a woman. That's what it looks like. It looks like us not showing up in our experiences and our relating in life. Like just full stop, not showing up, right? And so Caroline's absenteeism looks like the things she described, which is identifying the super special thing in someone that they would say it again.
It's like the thing they want, like everyone to kind of give them, like
see, like the recognition or
Yeah.
the seeing of a particular gift they have or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For men, most of the time it's approval. You know,
Approval.
it's just like he's like, no woman approves of this. And I'm like, watch me
Guess
get
what?
off on everything that you throw this way. And like, well, I have to make it like true, you know, like I won't like, well, I used to contort a lot more, but now we have like so much skill there. So it's like,
Yeah.
It's like a super drug. You got to be careful.
You got to be careful. So she'll offer this thing that's wanted, approval or whatever it is, until they are kind of like full of themselves or inflated in some way or something like that, and then just don't see her at all. They never think to be like, oh, the thing you're doing is actually having all the attention be on me and none of it be on you. Strange, you know. Let me like reverse that, you know. And so that's how she is absent, right? And then mine is, what do you call it? A hole.
This is my
mine is like it's not like I literally say this, but
which is kind of perfect.
And I've worked with this a lot, okay? 4,000 viewers out there. I've worked with this a lot. But it's like I'm fundamentally missing something that only you can fill.
Exactly. That's my crack.
Exactly. So then, you know, our things match perfectly. And we were like, wow, good thing we don't date. And we're just friends instead.
Yeah. But then people get jealous of our friendship because I can still do that for you. Like you'll be like, wow, I really want this. And I'll be like, whoop.
This is how my bedroom ended up being filled with beautiful, organic, erotic retail.
Or we changed all the toilet paper of the house.
Oh, yeah.
Like this, like that. Like you were like, I'll just order my talk about like she's like, I'll just order my own little section. I was like, I got you, babe.
But this is why, okay, so this is why this is an example of, this is just what women do. But I feel like when you elevate women relationships through eros, through women getting really filled up with eros and feeling like full a lot of times for the first time in their lives, like really feeling full as women and feeling, you know, their sense of power, confidence, value, more, all of that. What you get is you have, you know, it's like all these women begin to kind of represent these different things in your life. I was doing some digestive writing the other day, and I ended up writing about a woman, an old friend. And I was like, got very passionate about it. And I was like, she was a literal goddess in the pantheon of women in my life. A goddess of play, You're very passionate. But it's like these women, come to represent these things in your life, and it's like I can look to them. I can look to the women in my life for the skill sets that I'm not as good at. Like I have my gifts and my skill sets and my things that I'm brilliant at, and then I have my things that I'm weaker at. And then there's women in my life, like Caroline, for example, who she just cares a lot less what people think about her than I do. She cares what people think about her less than I do. And she is kind of more like, she'll just sort of like laugh. She'll just sort of like brashly laugh her way through whatever, any like opposition or naysaying or somebody's bad mood or somebody who would be like, I don't know if I feel like changing the toilet paper, or whatever. She's just like, oh, we're doing it this way. And they're like just so happy to kind of get on her ride because she just feels so turned on and like bright and good. And they're like, whatever ride I was on isn't as good as this one. I'll just hop on this ride. I don't even know what we're talking about, toilet paper, whatever. I just like getting on her ride, And so she just has these things that are not as natural to me, and it's just part of who she is. It's part of her like essential being as a woman, and so I get to look to her to, well, it's like a titration, it's like a figure eight energetic titration, and I get to give my, gifts to her. She likes my math a lot. She likes my erotic math a lot, like how I go kind of intricately through the cause and effect of things, and kind of go into the underground of things, and I love to like put as eloquent of wording as possible to like all the intricacies of like why things happen the way they happen and why people are the way they are and how it all works. She loves that, so I get to titrate my erotic math in, and then she gets to titrate like a type of feminine brashness, brightness, like dynamism, and those flavors of like a rightness in her feminine into me, and so we, like just last night so it's my room and then her room, and then there's sort of this like outer area and then the bathroom, and we're in this like outer area with just shelves with like towels and like shampoo and some random organic erotic products and things. And I'm like literally our rooms are right there. We could go sit on the bed. There's chairs in the house, but in that classic way, when you're just in a really good conversation, I'm like crouched again. I'm like crouched on the floor against the wall, and she's standing, with her arms behind her. We're in our jammies. And like we're just like, was this last night? I can't remember. 2 nights ago. And so, there's just that feeling like when you have eros among women, it's like this, maybe this is going to sound a little woo woo, but just think about mycelium networks. Okay. I don't know if that makes it less woo woo or more grounded. I'm not sure. Maybe a bit of both.
Depends on who you are.
Right. I think mycelium networks are so trending right now. Everybody should know what that means. So, so think of mycelium network, so it opens up this, I can feel my connections to these women in my life, and it opens up the circuitry and these channels between us. And it allows for, it's not just like an exchange of ideas. It's like a literal energetic, emotional nutrient exchange. And just like mycelium networks, you can, I get a ping from her when she's distressed, and then I end up in her room and she's naked.
I think mine's like way louder than a ping though.
It depends on, well, and it's like, and then there's the friends that she picks up on my distress, and I think I pick up on hers pretty well. Like we're like particularly tuned, and then there's another woman who it's harder for me to detect. There's other women in our lives who really pick up on that woman. So it all like works out, but it's just like a mycelium network where it's like, I hear the distress signal, and then I can send in nutrients of love and approval and just like, hey, whatever you're going through, man, I love you right there. Let me in, and I'll get the love right on the spot. We can send in the nutrients to wherever the roots are of like the tree or the mushroom or whatever is like distressed. It's like, hey, help,
Yeah,
I need some love.
I think I tried to kick you out like 3 times, but in that moment.
Yeah, I think so. It was like the Buddhist thing where you have to ask 3 times.
I was
Yeah.
like, no, no. And then I was like, fuck it, this is just gonna happen.
Please, Goddess Caroline, a Vajra Yogini, red Buddhist goddess, may I enter? May I drink from your skull cup of wisdom blood? Tantric, what is it? Vajrayana, Tibetan Buddhism. Yeah. Some wild imagery, guys. It's not Zen, okay? Skull cups.
And it was cold in my room. I don't make them. It's not always favorable conditions.
It is really cold in your room.
Leo will come in and be like, I don't really want to stay here. I'm like, wow, I really don't set people up to like want to come in here.
It's dark. She likes a cave. It's dark. It's cold. It smells really good though.
Yeah. Smells really good, feels really good, but it's like being on top of a mountain.
Which is perfect, Please may I enter your Himalayan cave. So I wanted to ask you, we've talked about a bunch of them, but what is something that for you, these days it's like, you have a certain number of people on a Zoom and you have a number of people streaming in, but like we make clips of this, and this podcast will be available to listen to and watch for probably forever because digital footprints. And so I think about also just like in that sort of trippy timeline way, what do people need to know about women relating on the path of Eros and like sisterhood, like true sisterhood relating, like relating for liberation, not for, reinforcing each other's conditioning and that kind of thing. Like, I want to know from your heart, like what you want, almost like what you want for the world around that.
Yeah. I think my personal biggest one is like, this like ride or die mentality, because when you're relating as like in this erotic way, like it's not all kindness and sugar, like you actually get into these like really intense rough spots where you're like, I don't actually know like what to do here, or this like hurts, or like, or you like get mad and you're like in total victim and you're like that, and it's like you like that thread of like, no matter what, like I will, even if it takes me 3 weeks to come back, or 2 minutes, usually I'm like in the 2 minute, but like it's just like being willing to like go back. And I think unfortunately like so quickly we're willing to just like and drop things, and but if you find someone who truly like wants your best, I think it's, and that you want their best, it's like that ride or die mentality is like something that has gotten me through so many moments where I wanted, was when I if I had never found Eros, would have just kicked that person out and just been like
it got hard, so we're done.
Yeah. And that's like, some women are opposite of that, where they're, so scared to lose people that they hold on forever. And, but for me personally, I'm so quick to leave, and, really letting that part of me that just cares so deeply and like will commit, and like, but it's like committing to the truth, like I commit to that thing that you talked about, like seeing lit up, that thing that I know is beautiful and want expressed in the world and want my friend to feel, like that's what I commit to. And so it kind of creates this willingness to kind of go through all the battles, and like even sometimes like the loving intimacy times, like those are actually probably the hardest for me, is like when it's like going really well and you're like, wow, can I even like have this much intimacy, and like not you know, pick a fight around it or like find something. Those are probably actually the most challenging for me, is like when it's so loving, you have to like really open your heart there.
Mm.
And then I think the other piece that I love around erotic sisterhood is like, it's not like a part of you is good and a part's bad, and you learn how to, you know, only you. It's like, no, everything that you, and this one was so huge for me. Like, actually, why I chose Eros is like every part of you is like is valuable and like wanted. And it's funny, as you were talking about me offering like parts of myself to you that you didn't have, it reminded me of the stories with women where like I would hear the thing that they needed, or like how and I would literally torture them and just like not give it to them, to like have some sort of power and control and feel that. And it's like, you know, in yourself, you do that enough times and you're like, I'm kind of a bad person. But in Eros, it really teaches you like, no, that's you can use that to like bring that person love and beauty and like use it to open. And I think women teaching women how to do that, and then also just like finding it in yourself, has been so valuable for me, of like, oh wow, I can actually use this thing that I used to use for, you know, control and power, like control, and to feel, I don't know what that feeling is, but you know, it's to feel my impact. It's like a way to feel my impact and be like, and but feel it in a different way, and just use learning to convert like that. And then the final thing I'll say is like, when I prior to finding Eros, my whole life was like, how can I travel in order to find, like every time you go to a new place, you like get to discover all these new things like about the place and their history, and like you know, and I was like, wow, I'm gonna have to travel the whole world, and like, how do I build my whole life around being able to explore these different worlds? And inside erotic sisterhood, you really get to like, those worlds are just available to you in any moment. Like you can, in any, like when you're passing in the hallway, like we explored a world, and it's like those, that hunger that I had for exploration and discovery and like learning about things, I find that now inside my relationships, and it helps me find those worlds inside myself and then find them in other women. And it's like, once you get access to that, you can go back, you know, anytime you want, and you don't even have to leave the couch.
The couch is the couch is the universe.
As an introvert, really just fills my soul. You know, it's like, wow, I really hacked this.
Conversations with women introverts.
Man.
There were a lot of things you just said that I really loved. Pointing out that some of the most difficult times with women are actually when they're really good, and when you're like learning how to receive, how to open to receive even more actually intimacy and exchange with women. And opening for that is actually some of the hardest times. Yeah. You made me remember so many times when I would totally demonize somebody because I'd be like, feel threatened by like actual love. And then they were like, I want to come in more and be friends more and like go into a deeper level of intimacy. And I would be like, I don't know what this is, but get it away from me, you know, like, because I was used to surviving on scraps. And it was like opening to an erotic feast was a whole thing of opening, and very uncomfortable. Still, you know, we're always working on that. The using withholding to create a sense of, well, I was going to say significance, but the words that you used were being able to experience your impact, to know your impact. And that's a real deep woman conditioning one. A lot of us women have learned how to do that. How to like withhold our best or our essential being, right? I mean, we talked about absenteeism. We withhold. I almost feel like it was like a weird thing we started doing with the intention to like, because we wanted to feel our impact. And then we did it so long, we like forgot why we're doing it. And now we're just absent, but we don't remember why we started doing that. Like something like that, where you're like, like the movie Inception, you're like 8 dreams in.
Yeah.
And you're like, wait, what? I recently saw a really good friend in Austin, Texas, and she had the most brilliant wisdom around fragmentation that people can experience sometimes, where you're not yourself for so long that you kind of can lose, like you're like, I can go this far from myself and still find my way back. And then at some point you maybe go too far to be able to find your way back, and you're like actually kind of lost, you know? And then the other thing you said was, well, I want you to say more about the role of a shared mission in Eros-based friendship and sisterhood. Like what, because you basically were saying that plays such a huge role. And that was something that I had to learn as well. Like, you can have a deep friendship with somebody without a shared mission, but you can't always, when the going gets tough, why would you come back to each other unless you had some kind of shared, I don't want to say goal, but something closer to like a bodhisattva vow, you know, the Buddhist vow to end suffering, the causes of suffering, and to help others get out of suffering, and to do that in all the lifetimes until every sentient being is enlightened. No big deal, just that. Just as small things, small shared missions together as women for fun. Although let's be honest, like that's already like kind of how women are like wired. So yeah, I want to know your thoughts on a shared intention or mission, as a role in erotic sisterhood.
Yeah. Well, I guess the first thing I'll say is like, I've kind of always been, since I was very young, like a shared mission being. So it's not really, it's something like I seek out, like at a very young age was, on a swim team where we're at the young age, it's like not that big, but there's still like a shared thing. And then you leave that, and then you leave the people that for me, like some people can keep friends forever, but it's like, oh, my mission changed. This is when I had very surface. But I think the underneath shared mission, those deeper ones, how, why it works is, you can always remind the other person they want that too. When you're talking to them, if you get so lost, that you can always come back to that. Like, hey, I'm here because we both said we wanted this, and they know that spot in themselves. And it's like, that's for me where, if I could, it's a place that I can reconnect us, no matter what's coming up, all the layers above, or it's like the deepest seed. And so it's kind of like the ultimate, reset button in a way, where you can just kind of be like, if I'm like, I've been practicing the art of talking to women for a year. Like I was very, you learn, and then you kind of unconsciously do it, and you kind of win some and you lose some, and then you get more attention, and then you learn like how to have this art. And inside of that, you make some big mistakes, like really ones that if you're not, like if you can't feel, we really could cause some, shredding of a relationship. And so I think inside of that, it's a great place to be like, to come back and be like, oh, hey, this is actually what I wanted. I know it looked like I was doing all these other things. And so then the person can really feel you. And then together you can like, then you're connected. And then together you kind of like work through like all the things. So versus like in ours it was like I was kind of in a spot and then you're but if two people kind of just like neither one's in their brilliance and you're kind of just going at it, like you can be the first one to make the, oh wow, we forgot we have this thing. And I do that a lot with you know, women that are more similar age in me as me. And so then it's like, you know, we can get destabilized at the same time and get really far. And so then it's like, you just, and then even if I don't say it, it's just like remembering it. That's my favorite thing about erotic women. It's like, if you just like open it in yourself, 90% of the time, the person like you know,
Totally.
if they're just like, whoa, you know, you can just like be a little beacon.
Where am I slim? Like you
Yeah.
can't even help that 10%, the 10% that doesn't, you have to make such an effort not to. Like you have to be like, no,
Yeah.
I can feel you turning on and I'm not getting on your ride.
Yeah, exactly.
Not gonna turn on. Holding a grudge.
Those are the best ones.
You see,
Yeah.
add this to the list
Yeah.
of things I look to Caroline
Yeah.
for. She likes a hard case. She
I
likes
really
a
do.
challenge.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's just like, but then I've had to learn, like, if someone really is a no like that, being like, you know, not, you know, the
Yeah.
cost of, you know, getting someone
Pushing in a conversation with a friend
Oh,
longer
yeah.
than you should, right? You hear that voice when you're like, let it go for now,
Yeah.
circle back later.
Yeah, that's I really learned that lesson many, many times. So, you know, and it's like, and you really have to try, you know, and then that's the beautiful thing about people having shared missions too, is like there's a trust that you can have there that they will, you know, do some work as well to like take all that's happened and like integrate it and come back, and might take longer than some of us might like, which is I'm like, well, okay, it's fine.
TikTok, bitch. Keep it moving, girl.
We have this art of addiction course that I went through, and like one of my big ones is like, I am so proving for like 2 weeks, and then you go past 2 weeks and I'm like, we're done, like this has got to go, you know. And you know, Leah went through her thing for a year, and I was like, this is hard, but like what a great friend to teach me patience in that spot of like, oh wow, like can you love past this, can you love, you know. And there was so many moments when I was like, oh, we're through, and it's like, nope. And it's just like, that's a real friend actually, is like someone who's so honest in those experiences, and then you get to learn how to be with them and like still hold that truth and yeah. So it's like, you know, I was addicted to like having it my way. And she's like, well, guess what?
You've met your match.
Yeah, really, probably is a great match for me.
You think?
I just like actually just realized that in this moment. I'm like, oh wow, so much of our
This is what we're here for, folks. Real time healing.
My favorite in those is like, what, you know, I love getting what I want and someone else gets what they want, and then I like secretly do the math to be like, this is actually how I really got what I wanted, you know, like underneath it. So like I'm always getting that.
Well, you're on the shared mission thing too, like the way that our, you know, kind of world works with all the different work that we do. Like you guys run Organic Erotic. I don't know if you have like one line about it in case anybody doesn't know what that is, real quick.
Yeah, I mean, Organic Erotic is a home goods company that has furniture and things for your house, and it's all created based on the felt sense. So everything has a feeling and adds a feeling, and really creates an environment where people can let go. We really see it. People love coming here. And
oh yeah, I mean, this whole center here in Harlem is decked out with Organic Erotic items, and it's absolutely creates the most beautiful frequency. And everyone who comes here, whether they know what it is or not, is like, oh my God, it feels so good here. This is amazing. It feels so good here. But so there's Organic Erotic, there's, the Eros platform, obviously, that we're on right now, that I do a lot of things on that. There's, Soulmaker Press, the book company, that I do some things on that sometimes. And Caroline, has a hand in other things. Caroline is my freaking killer go-to when I need in-kind donations for Women Over Dinner, because I help run, the Women Over Dinner nonprofit and the women's movement and all that. So there's all these different things that are kind of like sister, companies and organizations and things that we're both part of. And when you're sharing, a purpose and a mission, you can't, like, there will be a new, I remember the first time I started helping Courtney Lepowski work on books in Soulmaker Press, and I got to go over to Soulmaker Press and be like, now I'm part of this, and it's, and then whoever is already in that company or that arena or whatever, you've now been placed by Eros somehow. And it's not like you don't even know ahead of time, what it'll be like, but that's, listening to you talk about your and Leah's beautiful relationship makes me think of that. Like, it's like being moved by some deeper power in the mycelium network into these various locations, and the people there are not random. It's not random.
No.
It's often karmic. There's some specific thing. You're going to get a whole series of things. They're going to get a whole series of things. They're going to challenge you in this one spot where you've never been able to, like, move through it. And they're going to pop that thing open, by just existing. They don't even have to try, just literally being themselves. And so I love that about, like, just erotic relating in general. That's like a real aspect of it. So I'm just checking my time here. All right. We'll save this
One
other
thing I
topic for
wanted
the next
to say
time
though
thinking.
that came to me is like a shared purpose is actually what creates the mycelium network. Like, you can have a shared purpose in a different thing and they have their own mycelium network, but it's like not like Eros. It's like a different one. I don't know what a good example would be, but it's like their shared purpose creates their network, and it's like you can actually hop into someone else's network and you're kind of like, oh wow, this is, and play in their network if you wanted to, and think anyone
I don't know
can
why,
come
but
play
I'm
in
literally
ours.
thinking of the music festival happening a block away that I can hear some of the bass. Like, it's like some health organization that does this every Friday, and they put up these booths and these tents, I think, to promote, different healthcare things for anyone around the city who needs access to that, and to actually encourage people to, like, use them. And there's like a party, it's like party town a block away, and it's like blasting music and everything. And that's a whole mycelium network,
Yeah, it's true. And then
and we walk through it.
Yeah. And then it's like you go in, I don't know if you probably do this, but it's like you go in, you feel, and you kind of like can immediately kind of feel like, oh, this is the way you respect this space, and kind of like, show up well. And I think that's like one thing that makes me really fun to do the in-kind donations, is like you kind of just tap into like what that person's world is, and then you figure out, if their world wants to offer to our network. And sometimes they stay a long time. I've had lots stay, and sometimes they just, come in and then they go right back out, and you're just like, well, this nice little adventure. So I like that. I like feeling that really underground place, and it reminds me of women. Like, women, that's so what women do. They invite people in, and and then they
Nourish
leave
them.
and then they leave. I think about that a lot in someone's house. So yeah, that's really cool, feeling of the network in that way. And it's just really around, we all have the same shared purpose, and it really is our lifeblood. And
beautiful note to end on. Well, thanks for doing this with me and kicking off this whole thing. I'm so excited about this podcast. And so, I would say that this is generally what to expect from this podcast, but I honestly can't say that honestly, because I actually think it's conversations with women. Like, we're going to go wherever the heck we go. We're going to have 2 to 5 women on this thing all the time, every week. And it's just going to be dynamic in the way that erotic women are. But it's always going to have kind of that, in a variety of ways, that deep transmission of the mycelium network of woman. So if you're into that, which I think all 4,000 of you probably are super into it, I will see you next week.